commander-in-chief, and why should Americans trust you to lead the country?
Well, I've gotten a lot of good on-the-job training in the last 200 days, but also say that the president is in incredibly good health. He's got incredible energy. And while most of the people who work around the President of the United States are younger than he is, I think that we find that he actually is the last person who goes to sleep. He's the last person making phone calls at night, and he's the first person who wakes up and the first person making phone calls in the morning. So yes, things can always happen. Yes, terrible tragedies happen, but I feel very confident the President of the United States is in good shape, is going to serve out the remainder of his term and do great things for the American people. And if, God forbid, there's a terrible tragedy, I can't think of better on-the-job training than what I've gotten over the last 200 days.
Donald Trump's image of unstoppable strength is cracking. And in the shadows stands a man waiting for his chance, J.D. Vance. Once a political outsider, he is now vice president, and his every word is measured for a moment that may come sooner than expected. So, is he trying to take over? And how hard is he really trying? Let's find out. In his first major interview, Vance spoke like a man already preparing for higher office. Calm, calculated, and quietly rehearsing. He left one impression. If Trump stumbles, the takeover will not be chaotic. It will be smooth and it will be his.
Prices are going to come down, but it's going to take a little bit of time, right? The president has been president for all of 5 days. I think that in those 5 days, he's accomplished more than Joe Biden did in 4 years. It's been an incredible breakneck pace of activity. We're going to work with Congress. We're, of course, going to have more executive orders, and we're going to try the way that you lower prices is that you encourage more capital investment into our country. And you ask specifically, what executive order is going to help lower prices? All of the stuff that we've done on energy, to explore more energy reserves, to develop more energy resources in the United States of America. One of the main drivers of increased prices under the Biden administration is that we had a massive increase in energy prices. Donald Trump has already taken multiple executive actions that are going to lower energy prices, and I do believe that means consumers are going to see lower prices at the pump and at the grocery store, but it's going to take a little bit of time. Rome wasn't built in a day, and while we've done a whole lot, we can't undo all of the damage of Joe Biden's presidency in 4 days.
Well, there are a lot of things that contributed to higher energy prices, and there was record oil and gas production.
Yes, Joe Biden did many terrible things to lead to an increase in prices. I agree, Margaret.
No, but all the things you experience at the grocery store are what people touch and feel. That's what you were talking about, bacon on the campaign trail.
Of course, of course.
Those things. When do consumers actually get to touch and feel a difference in their lives?
Well, Margaret, how does bacon get to the grocery store? It comes on trucks that are fueled by diesel fuel. If the diesel's way too expensive, the bacon's going to become more expensive. How do we grow the bacon? Our farmers need energy to produce it. So if we lower energy prices, we are going to see lower prices for consumers, and that is what we're trying to fight for.
I am noticing one thing. Trump's vocabulary is very basic and simple, which is part of his power. He doesn't use complicated terms. Instead, he repeats short, emotional words that everyone can understand instantly. Words like bad, sad, weak, loser, tremendous, great again, and the best. J.D. Vance, on the other hand, often speaks in a more formal, careful way. He'll say things like strategic realignment or long-term economic vision that makes him sound more polished. What is more leader appropriate? You have to decide. His good choice of words also makes him less controversial, but not always. Like when asked directly whether he was ready to be president, Vance didn't deflect. He smiled and said yes. He tried to shield Trump by adding that the president was in incredibly good health, but that reassurance rang hollow. For the first time, Americans heard a vice president openly signal his readiness. Loyalty is expected, but readiness is ambition. That single answer revealed both, and the line between being a deputy and being a successor suddenly blurred.
As vice president, you're a heartbeat away from the presidency, and your boss is one of the oldest people to ever be sworn into office. You're one of the youngest people to ever be second in line. Are you ready to assume the role of commander-in-chief, and why should Americans trust you to lead the country?
Well, I've gotten a lot of good on-the-job training over the last 200 days, but also say that the president is in incredibly good health. He's got incredible energy. And while most of the people who work around the president of the United States are younger than he is, I think that we find that he actually is the last person who goes to sleep. He's the last person making phone calls at night, and he's the first person who wakes up and the first person making phone calls in the morning. So yes, things can always happen. Yes, terrible tragedies happen, but I feel very confident the President of the United States is in good shape, is going to serve out the remainder of his term and do great things for the American people. And if, God forbid, there's a terrible tragedy, I can't think of better on-the-job training than what I've gotten over the last 200 days.
What does Usha think about you running for president in 2028?
I think she thinks what I think, which is let's focus on the job that we have right now. Let's do as good a job as possible. And if that door opens later on, we'll figure it out.
Rumors about Trump's health only add fuel. Stumbles, fatigue, and bruises have sparked endless speculation. Against that backdrop, Vance's declaration, ready if tragedy strikes, felt less like a safety net and more like a transition plan. The videos spread quickly because it captured the contrast. Trump, older and visibly worn; Vance, younger and perfectly composed. Perception matters more than medical reports. And right now, perception says the air is ready while the leader looks fragile. If I had Trump's job at 51 for a month, I'd have a nervous breakdown, Alex Jones quipped, underscoring the strain such a role imposes. Take a look.
You can see him declining faster and faster. It's not super bad yet. I predict Trump is going to have some type of collapse within the next 12 months at the current trajectory. I'm not saying he's going to collapse. I'm saying if he doesn't take his foot off the gas pedal, I guarantee you, and I've got stamina, way better than most people. If I had Trump's job at 51 for a month, I would have a nervous breakdown. I've seen a lot of signs of Trump declining. The fear that he's getting sick, that who knows what's going on. His ankles are giant. That usually means serious heart decline. I mean, liver failure too. But his eyes aren't yellow. So he's saying, I don't know if I'm doing a good job. I don't know if I'm going to get into heaven. I hear I'm not doing a good job. This is the President of the United States calling into Fox News in the morning saying.
On Meet the Press, Vance claimed that every war ends in negotiation, forgetting that World War II ended with unconditional surrender. Social media mocked him, headlines piled up, and his critics laughed.
News from the US Vice President J.D. Vance faced online trolling and criticism over some of the comments that he made during his interview on the Russia-Ukraine war. J.D. Vance was defending President Donald Trump's decision to entertain Russia's terms for a peace deal with Ukraine by claiming that all wars end in compromise. However, he chose the wrong examples to back his claims. Vance was asked if forcing Ukraine to cede its Donbas region would signal that Russia or other world powers could skirt the consequences of illegal land grabs. Vance replied that Ukraine will have a say in the decision. However, he went on to defend the negotiations, saying that, and I quote, if you go back to World War II, if you go back to World War I, and if you go back to every major conflict in human history, they all end with some kind of negotiation, unquote.
Yet even his mistakes serve a purpose. They keep him in the spotlight, forcing Americans to picture him as a president in waiting. The conversation itself is powerful. Every gaffe reminds the public that Vance isn't just the vice president. He's the man standing next in line. And then came Trump's own words. In a rally, he called J.D. Vance most likely to inherit MAGA in 2028. That wasn't just flattery, that was a public blessing, a signal to the movement that Vance is the chosen one. But it also revealed something Trump never admits, that he is mortal, and his grip on power is slipping. For a man obsessed with power, passing the torch is not loyalty, it's a necessity.
This morning, that you probably won't be running for a third term. This weekend, Secretary of State Rubio said that he thought J.D. Vance would be a great nominee. You could clear the entire Republican field right now. Do you agree that the heir apparent to MAGA is J.D. Vance?
Well, I think most likely, in all fairness, he's the vice president. I think Marco is also somebody that maybe would get together with J.D. in some form. I also think we have incredible people, some of the people on the stage right here. So it's too early, obviously, to talk about it, but certainly he's doing a great job, and he would be probably favored at this point.
Today, the narrative writes itself. Trump looks weaker, older, and increasingly embattled. Vance looks sharper, hungrier, and already wears the label, the MAGA heir. He doesn't have to seize power, he only has to wait for it. Because in politics, vacuums don't last. And if Trump falters, by health, by scandal, or by time itself, J.D. Vance will be there, ready to step in and claim the empire his mentor built. Jennifer Welch and Angie Sullivan from iHip News share a tweet that you need to see.
All right, here's another tweet. I'm gonna let Pumps get it together. All right, this is I'm gonna mispronounce his first name, so I'm just gonna call him Mr. Ali. And I thought this was a really good thought here. And he tweeted, Peter Thiel, Musk, Stephen Miller, and Russell Vought. And Russell Vought is of Project 2025 fame. Realize their king is sick and dying. And their king, of course, is Kanks. This is why they're ramping up towards a dictatorship, to make sure their groomed boy toy, JD, Just Dance Vance, who we call Little Smokey, has all the power to do their bidding. You guys, I think this is spot on. I think this is exactly what's happening. I think Mr. Ali on Twitter nailed it. There's no question that Kanks is not running the country and that people are letting him pretend like he's running the country with his redecorating project, with his show and tell executive orders. We showed a video earlier today where he had no idea what was going on with Benjamin Netanyahu bombing and killing journalists. The President of the United States had no idea. Somebody is running the country, and it sure as fuck is not Muffin Top Kanks.
I'm afraid it's Stephen Miller, who is nothing short of a racist, cruel. I mean, he hates everyone. I think it's him because he's as diabolical as J.D. Vance and as power hungry as J.D. Vance. Donald Trump doesn't give a shit about anything but power and Donald Trump. Stephen Miller believes in punishing people.
It's got to be somebody bigger than Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller does not have the wealth or the power in which people would be deferential to. Do you think J.D. Vance is going to be deferential to Stephen Miller? Stephen Miller's disposable. I think you have to go bigger. I think you have to look at the two foreign-born individuals, and I'm talking about Peter Thiel and Elon Musk, who founded PayPal together. Who then Elon Musk has been having a bunch of phone calls with Vladimir Putin the last 2 years. Peter Thiel is the one that groomed J.D. Vance, per this tweet, to be a boy toy to run this. I believe that still Stephen Miller gets off on all of this.
So here we are. The boy toy of MAGA, J.D. Vance, is standing in the wings, ready to rule next. The signals aren't whispers anymore. They're loud, public, and deliberate. Trump's image of strength is fading, and the heir has already stepped forward. But here's the question. Are they still pretending Trump is in power, when in reality the torch has already started slipping from his hands? Let us know in the comment section. Is America about to admit what's been obvious all along, that the future belongs to J.D. Vance, whether Trump likes it or not?